By the time he was arrested in 1986, he was about 26 years old. His name was Lawrence Anini, a famous criminal who started as a bus driver back then in Benin City. Some reports said that he was born in 1960, but nobody knows the actual date.
Well, for me, I can't give the actual date I was born. I can't give the date when I'm delivered. But why? For a long time, I've left my home. So my father and my mother don't know where about me.
From being a bus driver, he later became a truck driver, driving between Benin and Maiduguri, including Kano. But after some years, he left the job. And after leaving the job, he decided to form a one-man squad. As a good driver, he started targeting other truck drivers who usually park along the road to maybe relax or get some food.
Once we park vehicle, with the load, I can carry it, then I sell it. I was doing that job complete 3 years or 4 years.
While on one of such missions, he was arrested. Luckily for him, he was later released. And to help him get back to his driving job, according to him, his father helped him to buy a bus so that he can start driving again and probably stay away from trouble.
My father bought a bus for me. The bus, that's when I used to bus. So I was driving in Sapler Garage. From there, my father bought 504 for me. Then I was working. So later on, when I get to work, got an accident. So I was admitted. Before I come back, my father gave up.
After his father gave up on trying to help him, he went back to his truck snatching business because probably it doesn't require any capital to start, just some smartness, good timing, and a driving skill.
I met one big lorry, full loaded of medicine at Ebony Slima. Then I carried that lorry. Then, when I carry that lorry, I drive it out, I sell it. So I drive the car to our woman. Then I sell the lorry with the load. And the whole money was 50,000, which I buy the goods. So from there, the man we sold it for, he gave us 20,000 at the time.
This our mama he mentioned is in Imo State. You could imagine the distance he drove the truck that belongs to another man all the way from Benin to Imo State, fully loaded with medical products, selling the lorry and the products for 50,000 naira. Back in those days, in the early 1980s, 50,000 naira could buy you some cars. A brand new car was sold for about 4,000 naira and 10,000 naira, depending on the model. A bottle of beer was just a bit above 1 naira, and 1 liter of fuel was about 20 kobo. That's to show you how big a money he got from selling the vehicle and the goods, an amount of money that could make him to quit and find something better. But he wasn't alone. They were 3 at that time. At least he could get up to 20,000 naira from it as the leader of the gang. Although they agreed 50,000 naira and were only paid 20,000 naira initially, they still have a balance of 30,000 naira to get from the buyer.
After small time, and this man, he organized for us that he's not going to pay the money. Then he has to use police people to arrest. So I was only the person that escaped out of 3 of us. I escaped down to Benin, and I treat myself with the beating.
But going back to Benin could not solve the problem. As someone who had been arrested multiple times for different crimes, the police already have his details and address and probably knows his movements. Although he later left Benin and moved down to his village to a safer place, he was originally from Oroho, a community in Edo State, some kilometers away from Benin. So he considered that moving to his village would keep him safe for the meantime. But on one fateful day in his father's compound,
they come arrest me in my father's compound. I said, whether did I know all those people? I said, well, it's a trailer driver, not myself, I'm a trailer driver. I don't know what is really happening now. So when I come talk to them like that, they can't carry me go away. Carry me to show and I can't give my statement. Then, why did they shot me by hand here? They shot me by hand to give statement and with my leg to give a full statement that I know something concerning it. Then they said now, they will just carry the whole goose. They are not going to pay us the bonus money. Then from there, they condemned the rest 2 boys. Then they charged me since I don't have connection with it. So from there, we have to They have to leave me, I come home.
So, after they allowed him to come back home, it was a lucky moment. Out of 3 people arrested, he was the only one that was set free, despite being the main engineer of the process. He also said that the other 2 were condemned. When a criminal is condemned, it probably means they have either been sentenced to death or given a long-term years in prison. As of when this was happening, Nigeria had a rule that anybody found guilty of a criminal act, particularly armed robbery, should be executed by firing squad. The government made this a law and called it Robbery and Firearms Special Provisions Decree. Although in this case, it wasn't clear if they were armed or found guilty of possessing arms. But it was during those days under this law that Dr. Oyenusi and many others found guilty of engaging in armed robbery were executed. Back then, the famous Bar Beach in Lagos was an execution ground. Once some criminals had been marked for execution by firing squad, they would be tied to a pole, and some men of God would be invited to pray for them. After then, a group of police officers and soldiers would line up for command. At the sound of the command, they would fire at the condemned criminals. So, after Anini survived the case in Owerri, he went back to Benin. But there in Benin, the police were also searching for him for a crime he committed earlier on that involved stealing from the wife of Oba of Benin. It happened that the Oba of Benin then had a wife who owned a business for wholesale beer distribution. One day, Anini went to the business place.
I went there to steal a lorry with beer that I saw the beer in Kaduna.
From the Oba's palace?
No, not from the palace, for beer in white do distributor. The driver just contact it then. Once he gets inside, I kick him off.
With these multiple cases, he was already known in all the police stations in Benin. Even when his father died, while the burial was on, some police officers from the state CID came and arrested him in his father's compound. Luckily again, he was granted bail. It was during this time that he met a friend called Kinsidi Eweka, who then allowed him to join their gang. As a professional driver, he was made the official pilot of the group. A bus driver who knows most parts of Benin, he could easily find a way out. He made it easier for the group to escape multiple police attacks during operations. His friend Kinsili Eweka, who was the leader of the group, had a police officer he kept under his payroll. The officer was responsible for giving them information and even ammunition. Due to the connection with the officer, it became heavily impossible for the police to arrest the group. At any given time, they would escape every police plan. As of then, the stories of the level of robberies in Benin was becoming a national issue. Banks in Benin and all the area up to Abo became their daily targets. The federal government then had to come in. By August 1985, Ibrahim Babangida became the head of state of Nigeria after overthrowing Buhari. He was immediately presented with this issue of insecurity in Benin. As of then, Benin was the capital of a state called Bendel State. There was no Edo State then. It was later in 1991 that the Bendel State was divided to form 2 new states, Edo and Delta States. So, when Babangida became the head of state of Nigeria, he tried to change the police commissioner in Bendel State to see if the situation would get better, but nothing came out of it. By then also, the police officer who was the informant for Anini and his group was also elevated in rank. He was a DSP and was given the role to be in charge of a squad that will tackle the robbery issues in Bendel State. His name was George Iyamo. Somewhere along the line, he had some disagreements with the Anini group. Remember, Anini was not the head of this group then. The gang leader was Kinsley. Due to the disagreement, one day, the police officer and his squad went to Kinsley's residence, arrested him and some of his squad members. Luckily for Anini, he was not with the group that day.
There's one certain day like that. In Yamo and some other people, they just drive there. Then my car was inside that compound. Then Yamo have to send a message that he's looking for me. Then if he arrested about 4 of them in that compound. When he arrested the whole of them, carried them down to prison custody. Then from there, he said, if I know I can have money to bring them out, he can help me. And I said, well, I don't have money, but the money with me is only 20,000. And he said, no, he said, you need 50,000. Then I have to give you that 50,000. Then he had to move. He said, well, he leave me alone. Then I go with my car.
After giving Iyamu the 50,000 naira he requested so that the group members would be released, Anini thought it would be business as usual, hoping that surely Kingsley and the other members would be released, based on the assurance Iyamu gave to him. But unfortunately for Anini, Iyamu could not do anything to save Kingsley and the rest. It happened that during that time in 1986, the federal government had taken another decision as a way to fight the robbery cases in Benin. They decided to take the then Benue State Commissioner of Police, Pari Osayande, to serve as the police commissioner in Bendel State. He was known as an upright police officer. Unfortunately, he was from Bendel State, so it would be right to make him fight the criminals in his state. Due to this change, Iyamu couldn't get Kingsley and the others free. It was no more business as usual.
Later on, I heard that they killed Kingsley Water, the fire squad. And as I went to Iyamu's house, that Abba, the money I spent in them, how do you do it? I heard that you are the, whether it was robbery, I don't know the rank you have there. Why don't you go up with the money and save the boy? Then he said, by now, at any time he captured me, he must kill me. Then from there I have to escape. Then right from there I started escaping from Iyamu.
This marked the beginning of another crisis. As a way of revenge, Anini had to form another group. This time, he is in charge. He will not only continue the criminal activities, he will now start targeting police officers. They will pay for the killing of Kingsley. He met his old friend called Monday Osumbo and they formed the Anini group, alongside others, including one of them known as Friday Ofege. This new group became more brutal than the one headed by Kingsley. Now, they are not only operating to get money, they are also on a revenge mission. In order to put more pain on the police, they increased their activities and marked Benin as a red zone. As a close friend of Anini during his days as a truck snatcher, Monday became Anini's second in command. He was the one in charge of arms.
I need to see that issue. You can ask them. I'm the principal operator.
Principal operator.
Yes.
Who taught you how to shoot?
When I don't any gun at least, I came over at least the first 1 hour. I know how to shoot.
How?
With my son, with my son, I'm not as well as others.
Okay, you repeated class 3, right? You asked you to repeat class 3, right? Because of that, you left school.
Yes.
So apparently you are not doing well academically yet.
While all this was going on, remember the new police commissioner? He was also making his own moves. This time, he decided to form a new team, aside from the squad headed by DSP Iyamu. By then, from the information he got from Kingsley and the rest, before they were executed, they already knew Anini's identity and marked him as the next target. But somehow, they were faced with one problem: how to arrest him. They kept monitoring him for months.
There was a time we ran out of ammunition. And another time, we see this native nurse. So we had to go and reinforce. Now, we didn't want to attack him in the village, because it can be said, as a village man, he was in his natural habitat. And since we didn't plan any police operations in the bush, it was going to be difficult. So we just allowed him to work out. So I haven't taken about 5-6 of his men. Now we knew that the time was coming, because to start with, that gave us a victory, which we were not going to announce.
With his popularity and the fear he had created in Benin, he was known with a nickname, The Law. Considering also that his name was Lawrence, that nickname became a perfect fit. A man that feared nobody. Instead, he was a problem to the government. Throughout the majority of 1986, he could easily write a letter to any bank manager and tell him how much to keep for him to avoid troubles. Among the people in Benin, he was believed to be untouchable. The public record about him was that he can disappear and reappear at any time. But the police commissioner, Pari Osayande, was not giving up.
If they were going to go along the street, what strategy Anini adopted was that he would sling the bag loaded with automatic SLR on the shoulder, And then some pieces ahead of me, there will be Friday or February, and behind it there is Monday. So if you thought that you were good enough and said this is Anini, let me grab him, you are right on firing line. That was the extent to which the organization was. So we said, right, what do we do? Except we face all of them in a shootout. And we didn't want that to happen. We wanted to catch all of them alive so that we can evaluate their escapades.
The battle continued. Anini was making his moves while the police were on the watch. Gradually, the police team started picking up his men one after another. While the police was searching for Anini, Anini was hunting Iyamo, and Iyamo was hoping for Anini to be brought down so that the whole deal will still be secret and he will not be exposed. But on the 3rd of December 1986, the police squad caught up with Anini. It was a historic day in Benin. The roads were kept busy, everyone rushing to go and see the face of the great Anini. When he was being arrested, the officers shot him multiple times on his legs. Some reports stated that because it was believed he can disappear and reappear, another way to hold him down was to keep him in pains. Some said it was because he tried to pull out his gun. But whatever happened then, the result was that due to the multiple shots on his leg, after he was taken to hospital, the doctors had to cut off one of his legs because of the damage caused by the bullet wounds. It was at the hospital that he gave the interview you saw in this video, including the interview given by Monday Osumbo. And through the police interrogations, the activities of DSP George Iyamo was also exposed. Both groups, Anini and his squad, including George Iyamo and his fellow police team members who were part of the deals, were all charged to court. He appeared for trial on wheelchair and was later found guilty of the crimes against him. Then, on 28 March 1987, he was taken off to the execution ground alongside his second-in-command, Monday Osumbo, DSP Iyamo, and the other persons found guilty of partaking in the crimes. They were executed by firing squad. Thank you for being there. Such stories are important because of the lessons they come with. I appreciate your time.